Hello everyone and welcome to the Digimon Ghost Game Quick Thoughts video. This time I'm going to be talking about the latest episode of Ghost Game, which is episode 36, The Labyrinth of Grief. So just a quick synopsis. So an office building just completely straight up vanishes one day, and the gang, along with members of Ruri's forum, go to investigate what might be causing this building to just straight up disappear. So they go to explore this nearby cave. However, one by one, or in some cases two by two, members of the party start vanishing themselves. We then find out that this is being caused by a Digimon called Gigasmon, who is basically turning them into stone and is basically making graves for them. And the reasoning for this is because Gigasmon can't actually see things, it only kind of reacts to sound, and it can kind of hear movement, but it can't actually see things. And it actually listened to a trailer for a movie and thought that humans were going to all become extinct very soon, very quickly, because of all these disasters like global warming and accelerated tech building and stuff like that. So it thought that that was all real and was really sad and was preparing these graves for them because it thought it was real. And it's just a misunderstanding episode. So that's more or less the synopsis. In terms of my feelings about this episode, I did like the aspect that it was actually like The Descent. When I read the synopses and when I first saw the preview for this episode, I thought it reminded me a lot of The Descent. And the episode itself continued to remind me of The Descent. So in The Descent, a group of women go cave exploring. They're just cave exploring for fun because they're thrill seekers. And they come across a monster, and when you first hear the monster, the main character hears a little girl laughing because she had a daughter. So she keeps on hearing this little girl laughing. The characters in this episode hear when Gigasmon's about to take one of them or attack, they hear a little girl laughing. So it's very similar in that case. The other case is that the monster in the movie The Descent, even though it's an actual monster who wants to eat people, basically, it's a zombie, it's like an underground zombie, the monster in this movie can't actually see you. It relies on hearing only. And in this episode, Gigasmon had also had vision problems. So when it was fighting, it was relying on its attack. So this episode was basically just The Descent, and I thought it would just be similar, but it had a lot of those little bits like the vision and the little girl laughing. The little girl laughing reminded me straight away of the Descent. I feel like the writers of this episode actually had seen The Descent, and it was inspired by that because of how similar this episode was to The Descent. And looking at next week's episode, it seems like it's going to be like a Day of the Dead kind of reference sort of thing. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, I liked the fact that this episode was just The Descent because I saw that recently and it was quite good. Of course, this episode, the monster wasn't actually a monster. It was just another misunderstanding, which honestly we haven't had for a while. We haven't had one of these, the Digimon misunderstood something that was happening and was attacking humans for that reason. So I don't mind that they did that. The episode felt like it was kind of paced well. However, there was a weird moment where they're fighting and they reference knowing about Gigasmon from the encyclopedia, which is kind of weird because the encyclopedia segment isn't when the Digimon first shows up anymore, it's at the end of the episode. So I'm not sure if I missed something in the middle of the fight when we meet Gigasmon, but the encyclopedia entry of like, hey, who's that Digimon? It's Gigasmon, is still at the end of the episode. So I'm not sure if I missed something or if that was just kind of a bit of a goof. It's interesting though. I don't know. I still don't like the who's that Digimon part on the end. I think it felt fine in the actual battle. That's how Digimon's always been. But in any case, I liked this episode. It felt like it was paced fine, but I guess that's all I can say. It's definitely a good episode, but it's not like one of my favorite episodes. It was nice to see the intro was updated to include all of the evolutions except for Gulas Gammon, which was weird. I like how we've included the other evolutions in a cool, like, team action shot. I really like that. I'm glad they're updating it. I always thought they would with Adventure Colon, but they never did. And I guess they did once. They updated the Adventure Colon opening to have more sound effects. And that was it. The animation stayed the same. But this episode was nice to see an updated intro now that we've got all their perfect level Digimon, but we didn't have Goulascammon in that cool action shot, which is fun. I wonder if he'll be added in when we know more about Goulascammon, or I wonder if he's left out because he's meant to be like this special, separate evolution. So that was pretty cool. Another bit I didn't like about this episode, though, was the fact that, again, Ruli gets kidnapped. I feel like out of all the characters, she gets kidnapped or she gets put in danger the most. And while at least it was also Simbara and Goromon who also got kidnapped, and it was also Kiyoshiro who later on got kidnapped, I still would prefer, like, maybe Hiro can get kidnapped sometime. We know that Digimon can kind of change partners in this series. It happened once with Jellymon and Ruli, but more or less it's always Ruli who gets kidnapped, and I'm kind of a little bit annoyed about that. It was nice that we still have Jellymon fighting, that she didn't get kidnapped too. She was still able to fight on her own. She didn't evolve, like she didn't let Hiro have the control to evolve her or anything, but Canon Weissman was fine. And it turned out to be a misunderstanding anyway for this episode. But yeah, so those are more or less my thoughts. I did like the episode. I thought it was one of the, I guess, the better Mon of the Week episodes. And I really liked the fact that it was the Descent because, as I mentioned, I've seen that recently, so it's still kind of fresh in my mind. So it was nice to have something that, like, it's either completely on purpose, completely inspired by the Descent, or just incredible, incredible coincidence. But with the little girl laughing bit, I'm inclined to say it's not just a coincidence, it's actually inspired by that. But it could just be like, little girls are creepy. If you're somewhere where there are no little children and you hear the giggle of child, that's horrifying. Like, if you don't expect to see a child and you hear a child, it's something that's, you know, something weird's going on. In any case, those are my thoughts for this week's episode. Pretty nice, and again, it's nice to see that they're updating the intro to include all the evolutions. So those are my thoughts on this week's episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like this video for more horror movie references because I'm a big fan of horror movies. And subscribe if you haven't already. And of course, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!